When reclusive tech billionaire Ethan Sinclair decides to live as an ordinary man to find someone who loves him for himself, he discovers nothing prepares him for Mia, a waitress struggling to support her brother, yet genuine in every way. The real surprise? As his double life unravels, it's not just her heart at stake, but his own carefully guarded one too. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. The lunch rush at Diner on Main was finally winding down. Chen wiped her forehead with the back of her hand and glanced at the clock. Only 2 more hours until her shift ended, and then she had evening classes at the community college. At 28, she was exhausted from juggling her waitressing job with her accounting studies, but the bills wouldn't pay themselves, especially with her younger brother's college tuition payments looming. Mia, table 7 needs coffee, called Ray, the short-order cook who'd been like a father figure since she started working at the diner 3 years ago. She grabbed the coffee pot and headed to table 7, where a man sat alone, hunched over a weathered notebook. Unlike the usual business people or truckers who frequented the place, he wore a simple gray hoodie, faded jeans, and had several days' worth of stubble. His dark hair fell across his forehead as he scribbled intently. "Coffee refill?" Mia asked, already pouring before he looked up. When he did, she was struck by his eyes, a penetrating blue-gray that seemed to see right through her. For a moment, he appeared startled, as if unused to being addressed. "Thank you," he said, his voice carrying an unexpected warmth. "Actually, could I order something to eat as well?" "Sure thing," Mia replied, pulling out her order pad. "What'll it be?" He glanced at the menu. "What do you recommend?" "Honestly? Ray's meatloaf is the best in the city. Comes with mashed potatoes that'll make you want to lick the plate." She grinned. "Not that I'm suggesting you should." The corner of his mouth quirked up. "Meatloaf it is, then." As Mia turned to place his order, her phone buzzed. 3 missed calls from her brother and a text. "Need to talk ASAP. It's about tuition." Her stomach dropped. Jamie was in his final year at the state university, and they'd been scraping by on scholarships, loans, and every extra shift Mia could pick up. If there was a problem with his tuition, she had no idea where they'd find more money. "Everything okay?" The man at table 7 was watching her, concern etched on his face. "Fine," Mia said automatically, pasting on her waitress smile. "Just family stuff. I'll get your order in." When she returned with his meatloaf 15 minutes later, he'd cleared away his notebook and was staring out the window at the busy street. The late afternoon sunlight caught the angles of his face, highlighting cheekbones that seemed too refined for his otherwise rumpled appearance. "Here you go," she said, setting down his plate. "Anything else I can get you?" He looked at the steaming plate. "This looks amazing." Then he hesitated. "Actually, I couldn't help noticing you seemed worried earlier. I don't mean to pry, but are you sure you're okay?" Mia was caught off guard. Most customers barely registered her existence beyond taking their orders and bringing their food. "It's nothing," she said. "Just my brother's tuition issues. We'll figure it out." "College is expensive," he agreed, surprising her again. "What's he studying?" "Engineering." "He's brilliant. Got a partial scholarship. But it doesn't cover everything." Mia wasn't sure why she was telling this stranger her problems. "Anyway, enjoy your meal. I'll check back in a bit." As she walked away, she felt his eyes on her back. Throughout the afternoon, the man lingered, ordering coffee refills and finally a slice of apple pie. The diner emptied as the lunch crowd disappeared, leaving just a few regulars at the counter and the mysterious man at table 7. Mia found herself drawn back to his table repeatedly, their conversation flowing more easily each time. She learned his name was Ethan, that he was between jobs in the tech industry, and that he'd recently moved to the area. He asked thoughtful questions about her accounting studies and seemed genuinely interested in her answers. "Why accounting?" he asked as she refilled his coffee for the 4th time. "It's practical," Mia shrugged. "Good job prospects, decent pay. Not everyone gets to follow their passion." "And what is your passion?" The question caught her off guard. "I used to paint," she admitted. "Watercolors mostly. But that doesn't pay the bills." "Maybe someday," Ethan suggested. "Maybe." Mia smiled, but they both knew someday was a luxury she couldn't afford. When Ethan finally asked for his check, he left a $50 tip on a $20 bill. Mia tried to return it, thinking he'd made a mistake. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. "This is too much," she insisted. "It's not," he countered. "Best meatloaf I've ever had, and better company." Before she could argue further, her phone rang. Jamie's name flashed on the screen. "I need to take this," she apologized. "Go ahead," Ethan said, gathering his notebook. "I hope everything's okay with your brother." Mia stepped outside to take the call, and when she returned, Ethan was gone. All that remained was the generous tip and a napkin with a phone number scrawled on it. If you ever want to talk more about accounting or watercolors. "Ethan!" She pocketed the napkin, telling herself she'd never call. Yet something about his quiet intensity lingered in her mind long after her shift ended. That evening, after her accounting class, Mia arrived at her small apartment to find Jamie waiting. At 22, her brother had their mother's artistic temperament and their father's analytical mind, a combination that made him both brilliant and occasionally impractical. "What's the emergency?" she asked, dropping her bag by the door. Jamie ran a hand through his disheveled hair. "The university billing office says there's a hold on my registration for next semester. Apparently the supplemental grant I was counting on fell through." Mia's heart sank. "How much do we need?" $5,000, Jamie said, looking miserable. "I've already applied for more loans, but with my current debt load, they're not optimistic." "We'll figure it out," Mia said automatically, though she had no idea how. Her savings account held barely $2,000, money she'd been setting aside for emergencies. "I can drop out," Jamie offered. "Get a job, come back later." "Absolutely not," Mia cut him off. "You're one semester away from graduating. We're not letting a financial hiccup derail your future." She forced a smile. "I've been thinking about picking up some bookkeeping clients on the side anyway. This is just motivation to start sooner." Later, alone in her room, Mia allowed herself a moment of panic. She was already working nearly 40 hours a week at the diner while taking a full course load. Adding freelance bookkeeping would mean no sleep and no life, but what choice did she have? Their parents had left them little but memories and medical debt when they died. Their father from cancer when Mia was 18, their mother from a heart attack 2 years later. As she emptied her pockets to do laundry, the napkin with Ethan's number fell out. Mia stared at it for a long moment, then impulsively entered it into her phone. She wasn't going to call. What would she even say? "Hey, stranger from the diner, want to help me pay my brother's tuition?" She snorted at the thought. But as she drifted off to sleep that night, Ethan's thoughtful questions and quiet presence lingered in her mind. There had been something different about him, something genuine in a world that often felt coldly transactional. The next morning, Mia arrived at the diner for the early shift, surprised to find Ethan already there, occupying the same booth as yesterday, his notebook open before him. "Morning," he greeted her, as if his presence at 6 a.m. was perfectly normal. "You're here early," Mia observed, pouring him coffee without asking. "I'm most productive in the mornings," he explained. "And the coffee here is better than at my place." As the week progressed, Ethan became a regular fixture at the diner, always sitting in Mia's section, always leaving generous tips she couldn't afford to refuse. Their conversations grew longer, ranging from books they'd read to places they hoped to visit someday. He never pressed for personal details, but his quiet attention invited confidences. By Friday, Mia found herself sharing her frustrations about Jamie's tuition situation. "It's just so close," she said, sliding into the booth across from him during her break. "One more semester and he graduates with an engineering degree that will change his life." "Our lives." "What about your life?" Ethan asked. "You're working yourself to exhaustion for his dream. What about yours?" The question stung with its accuracy. "His success is my dream too," she said defensively. Ethan's expression softened. "I'm not questioning your dedication, Mia. It's admirable. I'm just wondering who's looking out for you while you're looking out for everyone else." Before she could respond, Ray called her back to work. The lunch rush had begun, and the diner was filling quickly. As Mia worked, she found herself glancing repeatedly at Ethan's booth. Unlike their previous conversations, his words had unsettled her, not because they were unkind, but because they'd hit a truth she rarely acknowledged. She had put her own dreams on indefinite hold. When her shift ended, Ethan was still there, though his notebook was closed. As she gathered her things to leave, he approached the counter. "I have a proposition for you," he said, without preamble. Mia raised an eyebrow. "That sounds ominous." "Not at all," Ethan assured her. "I mentioned I work in tech, right? My background is actually in software development. I'm working on a new app, financial planning for students and recent graduates. I need someone with accounting knowledge to help me refine the functionality." "And you want my help?" Mia asked skeptically. 20 hours a week, $40 an hour, flexible schedule around your classes and shifts here," Ethan stated matter-of-factly. "You can work remotely most of the time. It's a 3-month contract to start." Mia's mind raced. That kind of money would solve Jamie's tuition problem and then some. But it seemed too convenient, too perfect. "Why me?" she asked bluntly. "You barely know me, and there must be actual accountants looking for work." "I need someone who understands the real financial struggles students face," Ethan explained. "Someone practical but compassionate. From our conversations, that's you." He smiled slightly. "Plus, you recommended the meatloaf, which shows excellent judgment." Despite her reservations, Mia found herself saying yes. The opportunity was too good to pass up, and something about Ethan made her trust him, despite the voice in her head warning that things that seemed too good to be true usually were. They arranged to meet at a coffee shop the following day to discuss details. As Mia walked home, a mixture of excitement and apprehension swirled in her stomach. She told herself it was just a job opportunity. But she couldn't ignore the flutter in her chest when she thought about spending more time with Ethan. The coffee shop was busy when Mia arrived the next afternoon. She spotted Ethan in a corner booth, dressed in the same casual style as before, his laptop open in front of him. He waved her over, already having ordered her a latte. "How did you know what I drink?" she asked, sliding into the seat opposite him. "Educated guess," he replied with a small smile. "You strike me as someone who appreciates a classic." For the next hour, Ethan outlined the project in detail. His knowledge was impressive. His vision for the app, both practical and idealistic, helping young people avoid crippling debt while still pursuing their education. "The banking system is designed to profit from students, not support them," he explained, a flash of passion breaking through his usually calm demeanor. "I want to create a tool that levels the playing field." "That's actually amazing," Mia admitted. "But how will you make money if the app is free for students?" "There are ways to generate revenue without exploiting the users," Ethan said vaguely. "Premium features for those who can afford them, partnerships with ethical financial institutions. Don't worry about the business model. That's my department. I need you to help ensure the advice and tools we're providing make real-world sense." By the time they finished discussing the specifics, Mia was genuinely excited about the project. It wasn't just the money, though that was certainly a relief, but the chance to contribute to something meaningful, something that might help students like Jamie navigate the financial maze of higher education. As they were wrapping up, Ethan hesitated, then asked, "Would you like to grab dinner?" "To celebrate our new partnership." Mia felt her cheeks warm. Is this still part of the job interview? "Definitely not," Ethan said, his blue-gray eyes holding hers. "This would just be dinner. Two people getting to know each other better." She should say no. Mixing business with pleasure was never wise. But there was something about Ethan, a sincerity beneath his reserved exterior, that made her nod. "I'd like that," she said, "but nothing fancy. I'm not really a fancy restaurant person." "I know just the place," Ethan replied, looking genuinely pleased. The place turned out to be a tiny Vietnamese restaurant tucked away on a side street. The decor was simple, but the aromas wafting from the kitchen were mouthwatering. As they settled into a small table by the window, Mia noted that Ethan seemed perfectly comfortable in the modest surroundings. "I found this place my first week in town," he explained. "The owner, Mrs. Nguyen, makes the best pho in the city." Over steaming bowls of soup and shared plates of spring rolls, Their conversation flowed easily, moving beyond work and daily routines to deeper territories. Ethan spoke of his childhood in a small Midwestern town, his early fascination with computers, and his complex relationship with his late father. He was brilliant but distant, Ethan explained. Always working, building his company. By the time he wanted a relationship with me, I was too angry about the years of absence to meet him halfway. Do you regret that now? Mia asked gently. Ethan's eyes clouded. Every day. He died before we resolved anything. That's partly why He trailed off, seeming to reconsider his words. Why I try to balance work with actual living now. In turn, Mia shared stories of her parents, her mother's artistic spirit, her father's quiet strength, and how their deaths had shaped her determination to ensure Jamie completed his education. They always believed knowledge was the one thing that couldn't be taken from you, she said, twirling noodles around her chopsticks. When they got sick, they lost everything. Their savings, their house, eventually their lives. But what they knew, what they'd learned, that stayed with them until the end. As the evening progressed, Mia found herself increasingly drawn to Ethan's thoughtful questions and attentive listening. Unlike previous dates where men had either dominated the conversation or shown superficial interest, Ethan seemed genuinely curious about her thoughts and experiences. When the bill came, Ethan reached for it automatically, but Mia placed her hand over his. Let me contribute, she insisted. I know I haven't started the job yet, but I can afford to pay my share of dinner. Something flickered in Ethan's eyes. Surprise, perhaps, or admiration. How about we split it? He suggested. Walking back to her apartment building afterward, their hands brushed occasionally, sending unexpected sparks up Mia's arm. At her door, there was a moment of awkward hesitation. I had a really nice time, she said, meaning it. So did I, Ethan replied, his eyes warm in the dim hallway light. Thank you for taking a chance on dinner. And the project. Thank you for the opportunity, Mia returned. It's going to help more than you know. For a breathless moment, she thought he might lean in to kiss her. Instead, he took a step back. I'll email you the contract tomorrow, he said. We can start whenever you're ready. As Mia watched him walk away, she felt a curious mixture of disappointment and relief. Whatever was developing between them, friendship, professional relationship, or something more, it was complicated by the fact that he was now her employer. Yet she couldn't deny the connection she felt, a comfort in his presence that defied their short acquaintance. Inside, she found Jamie surrounded by textbooks, looking up with tired eyes as she entered. How was the meeting about that job? He asked. Good, Mia replied, hanging up her coat. Really good, actually. If it works out, we won't have to worry about your tuition next semester. Jamie's face lit up, then quickly shadowed. Mia, you don't have to keep sacrificing for me. I can take a year off, work. It's not a sacrifice, she interrupted. It's actually an interesting project, and the pay is great. For once, what's good for our bank account is also good for my resume and my sanity. And the guy? Ethan? He's legit? Mia thought about Ethan's quiet intensity, his thoughtful questions, the way he'd insisted on splitting the dinner bill when he could have easily played the role of benefactor. Yeah, she said slowly. I think he is. What she didn't say was how much she was looking forward to seeing him again, how their dinner conversation had lingered in her mind, or how his smile had made her heart beat faster. Some things were better kept to herself, at least until she understood them better. The next morning, true to his word, Ethan's contract arrived in her email. Mia reviewed it carefully, impressed by the clarity and fairness of the terms. There was even a clause about intellectual contribution, ensuring she would receive credit for any features she helped develop. She signed it and returned it, officially beginning their professional relationship. What she didn't know was how quickly the lines between professional and personal would blur, or how Ethan's seemingly simple app project would eventually reveal secrets that would test everything she thought she knew about him and about herself. Over the next few weeks, Mia and Ethan fell into a productive routine. They met 3 times a week at various coffee shops around the city, working side by side on laptops, exchanging ideas and building out the financial planning app. On other days, Mia worked remotely, sending Ethan her analyses and suggestions via email. The work was challenging but rewarding. Ethan's technical skills were impressive. He could translate her financial concepts into functioning features with remarkable speed. Yet he never made her feel lesser for her lack of programming knowledge, valuing her practical insights about how real people managed, or mismanaged, their money. "You're seeing blind spots I would have missed completely," he told her one afternoon as they reviewed a budget tracking feature. "That's exactly why I needed someone like you on this project." Despite her initial reservations about mixing business with pleasure, Mia found herself increasingly drawn to Ethan. Their coffee shop work sessions often extended into meals, their conversations ranging far beyond app development to books, films, philosophies, and dreams. Ethan remained something of an enigma. For someone who claimed to be between jobs, his knowledge of software development was extraordinary. He always paid for their coffee in cash, carried a basic model phone that seemed at odds with his tech expertise, and occasionally received calls that he stepped away to take, returning with a carefully neutral expression. When Mia asked about his previous work, he spoke in generalities about various startups and consulting gigs. She might have pressed further, but she was too grateful for the job, and too enjoying his company, to risk upsetting their arrangement. By the third week, Jamie's tuition crisis had been resolved. The first payment from Ethan had covered the outstanding balance, with enough left over to start rebuilding their emergency fund. The relief was immense, allowing Mia to sleep through the night for the first time in months. "You seem happier," Ray observed one morning at the diner as Mia hummed while refilling salt shakers. "That new job must be working out." "It is," she agreed. "It's interesting work, and the extra income means I can cut back a few shifts here." "And your regular customer has nothing to do with your good mood?" Ray raised a bushy eyebrow, nodding toward Ethan, who sat in his usual booth, typing intently on his laptop. Mia felt her cheeks warm. "He's my employer, Ray." The cook hummed skeptically. "Just be careful, sunshine. That one's carrying something heavy. I can tell." "What do you mean?" Ray shrugged. "Just a feeling. There's more to him than he's showing. Not saying it's bad, but there's definitely more." His words lingered as Mia approached Ethan's table with a fresh pot of coffee. Was there something she was missing? Some warning sign her attraction to him was blinding her to? "Earth to Mia," Ethan's voice broke through her thoughts. He was looking up at her with amusement. "You okay there? You seem a million miles away." "Just thinking about the student loan repayment calculator we were discussing," she lied smoothly, pouring his coffee. "I had some ideas about how to make it more realistic." "Tell me over dinner tonight?" he suggested. "I found a great little Mediterranean place." Their working dinners had become increasingly common and increasingly date-like. Though neither had put a label on their relationship, Mia couldn't deny the growing tension between them. The lingering glances, the accidental touches, the way conversations drifted from professional to personal as evenings progressed. "Sure," she agreed, ignoring the voice in her head that warned she was getting in too deep. "But it's my turn to pick up the check." That evening at the restaurant, after they'd exhausted work topics and were lingering over baklava and mint tea, Ethan's phone rang. He glanced at it, his expression immediately tightening. "I need to take this," he said apologetically. "It might be a while. Don't wait for me. I'll get the check when I'm done." Before Mia could protest, he was striding toward the door, phone pressed to his ear. Through the window, she watched him pace on the sidewalk, his posture rigid, occasionally running a hand through his hair in apparent frustration. When 15 minutes passed with no sign of his return, Mia decided to pay her share and leave. As she approached the counter, the restaurant owner shook his head. "Your bill has been taken care of," he informed her. "The gentleman called and gave us his credit card information." "He did?" Mia frowned. "When?" "Just now," the owner replied. "Said to tell you he was sorry he had to leave, but something urgent came up." Puzzled and slightly annoyed by Ethan's disappearing act, Mia headed home. It wasn't the first time he'd received a mysterious call and abruptly ended their evening, but it was the most dramatic exit yet. As she walked, her phone pinged with a text from Ethan. "I'm so sorry about tonight. Family emergency. Can I make it up to you tomorrow? Lunch at the park?" She hesitated before responding. Part of her wanted to demand a better explanation. But another part recognized everyone was entitled to privacy, especially regarding family matters. "Hope everything's okay," she texted back. "Park lunch sounds good." The next day was Saturday, and Mia met Ethan at a small urban park near her apartment. He'd arrived before her, setting up a simple picnic on a bench overlooking a duck pond, sandwiches from her favorite deli, iced teas, and fresh fruit. "I'm really sorry about last night," he said as she approached, his expression genuinely contrite. "Something came up that I couldn't ignore." "Family emergency, you said?" Mia prompted, sitting beside him. Ethan nodded, a shadow crossing his face. "My mother. She has health issues. Sometimes things get complicated." It was the most personal information he'd shared about his current life, and Mia felt a twinge of guilt for her suspicions. "I understand," she said softly. "Is she okay now?" "For the moment," Ethan replied, unwrapping a sandwich and handing it to her. "It's an ongoing situation. She has good days and bad days." "You're a good son to be there for her," Mia said, thinking of her own parents' illnesses and how overwhelming caregiving had been. Something like pain flickered across Ethan's features. "I try to be," he said quietly. "I haven't always succeeded." The vulnerability in his voice touched something in Mia. Impulsively, she reached out and squeezed his hand. "Nobody does. We just do our best." He looked at their joined hands, then up at her face, his blue-gray eyes intense. "Mia, Whatever he was about to say was interrupted by a jogger who stumbled nearby, dropping his water bottle, which rolled toward their bench. Ethan released Mia's hand to retrieve it, the moment broken. As they ate their lunch and fed crusts to the eager ducks, conversation turned to lighter topics. Ethan asked about her painting, and Mia found herself describing the watercolors she used to create, landscapes mostly, but occasionally portraits. "I haven't painted in years," she admitted. "No time, no money for supplies, no space in our tiny apartment." "What would you paint if you could?" Ethan asked, genuinely curious. Mia looked out over the pond, considering. This, maybe. The way the light hits the water, those weeping willows reflected. Or maybe Jamie, to capture this time in his life before everything changes. She smiled self-consciously. "Sorry, that probably sounds silly." "Not at all," Ethan said. "It sounds like you miss it more than you realize." The afternoon stretched pleasantly as they walked through the park, their conversation flowing easily. When they passed a street artist selling watercolor cityscapes, Ethan paused to admire the work. "These are beautiful," he commented. "Reminds me of how you described your style." The artist, an elderly man with kind eyes, thanked him. Always nice to meet someone who appreciates watercolors. Most people these days want digital prints. "My friend here is a painter too," Ethan said, nodding toward Mia. "Though she's been on hiatus." "Oh?" The artist perked up. "What medium?" "Watercolor. Like you," Mia admitted shyly, "though nowhere near your skill level." "Nonsense," the man scoffed. "Anyone who respects the medium has something valuable to express." He rummaged beneath his display table and produced a small watercolor kit. "Here, take this. I have several, and this one needs a good home." "Oh, I couldn't," Mia began. "Please," the artist insisted. "Consider it passing the torch. The world needs more painters, not fewer." Touched by the unexpected gift, Mia accepted the compact kit. As they walked away, she felt a rush of excitement at the thought of painting again, followed quickly by practical concerns. "That was incredibly kind of him," she said. "Though I'm not sure when I'll find time to use it." "Make time," Ethan said simply, "even if it's just 15 minutes before bed. Some things are worth carving out space for." As the afternoon waned, they found themselves back at Mia's apartment building. Unlike their previous goodbyes, this time the tension between them was palpable. "I had a really nice time today," Mia said, clutching the watercolor kit. "So did I," Ethan replied, his eyes never leaving her face. The moment stretched between them, electric with possibility. Then, with gentle determination, Ethan leaned in and kissed her. His lips were warm and sure against hers, his hand coming up to cup her cheek with surprising tenderness. When they broke apart, Mia felt slightly dazed. "That was overdue," Ethan finished, a smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "I've been wanting to do that for weeks." "Me too," she admitted. He brushed a strand of hair from her face. "I should go. But I'll see you Monday?" Mia nodded, unable to stop smiling. Monday. As she watched him walk away, a nagging voice in the back of her mind wondered if she was making a mistake. Ethan was still largely a mystery, and now he was both her employer and potentially something more. But for once, Mia decided to silence her practical concerns and simply enjoy the warmth spreading through her chest. Inside her apartment, she found Jamie at the kitchen table, surrounded by engineering textbooks and empty energy drink cans. "How was your date?" he asked without looking up. "It wasn't a," Mia began automatically, then stopped herself. "It was nice. Really nice." Jamie finally glanced up, studying her face. "You like this guy." It wasn't a question. Mia shrugged, trying for nonchalance. "He's interesting, smart, kind, and mysterious," Jamie added. "You still don't know much about him, do you?" "I know enough," Mia defended, though her brother's observation hit uncomfortably close to her own lingering doubts. "Just be careful, sis," Jamie said, returning to his books. "Not everyone is as straightforward as you are." His warning echoed Ray's, amplifying Mia's unease. Was she being naive? Was there something about Ethan that should concern her? That night, as she experimented with her new watercolor kit, painting small, tentative landscapes in a sketchbook she'd unearthed from her closet, Mia tried to organize what she actually knew about Ethan versus what she felt. The facts were limited. He was knowledgeable about technology, had money despite claiming to be between jobs, was developing an app to help students, and had a mother with health issues. He paid for everything in cash, was vague about his past employment, and occasionally received mysterious calls that took precedence over their time together. Set against these sparse and somewhat concerning facts were her feelings: comfort in his presence, admiration for his intelligence and values, and an undeniable attraction that had only grown stronger with that kiss. As she added delicate brushstrokes to her small painting, a memory of the duck pond from earlier that day, Mia decided to trust her instincts while keeping her eyes open. Ethan made her happy, made her feel seen in a way no one had in years. Whatever secrets he might be keeping, she would give him the chance to reveal them in his own time. What she didn't know was how soon that time would come, or how dramatically his revelations would challenge everything growing between them. Monday morning brought a steady drizzle that matched Mia's mood as she hurried into the diner for her early shift. She'd spent Sunday catching up on accounting homework and helping Jamie prepare for a major exam, barely finding time to text with Ethan. Now she was operating on too little sleep and too much coffee. "You look like you're running on fumes," Ray commented as she tied her apron. "Finals week for Jamie means late nights quizzing him," she explained, stifling a yawn. "Plus I have my own exams coming up." Ray shook his head. "You can't pour from an empty cup, sunshine? Remember that." The morning rush kept her too busy for further conversation. It wasn't until nearly 11 that she noticed Ethan hadn't arrived for his now habitual breakfast. Her disappointment was irrational. They hadn't specifically planned to meet, but undeniable. Just as she was clearing a recently vacated table, the diner's door swung open. Expecting Ethan, Mia turned with a smile that quickly faltered. The man who entered bore no resemblance to the casually dressed, stubble-faced Ethan she knew. This man wore an impeccably tailored charcoal suit, a crisp white shirt, and a subtle blue tie that accentuated his eyes. His dark hair was expertly cut and styled, his face clean-shaven, revealing a strong jawline previously hidden beneath scruff. It took Mia a full 3 seconds to realize she was staring at Ethan himself, an Ethan who looked like he'd stepped out of the pages of a business magazine. "Ethan?" she questioned, disbelief coloring her voice. He approached her table, his expression unreadable. "Mia, I need to speak with you. Privately. It's important." Something in his tone sent a chill through her. "I'm working. I can't just—" "Please," he interrupted, his eyes conveying an urgency his controlled voice did not. "It can't wait." Mia glanced toward Ray, who was watching their interaction with narrowed eyes. "Give me 2 minutes," she said to Ethan. "I'll see if I can take a break." To her surprise, Ray agreed immediately when she asked for 15 minutes. "That fellow looks like he has something serious to discuss," he observed. "Take the time you need." Outside, the drizzle had intensified to a proper rain. Ethan led her to a sleek black car, not a taxi or rideshare, but a luxury vehicle with a driver who opened an umbrella for them as they approached. "What is this?" Mia asked, hanging back. "What's going on, Ethan?" "I'll explain everything," he promised. "But not here in the rain. Please, Mia, trust me for 10 more minutes." Against her better judgment, she slid into the car's plush leather interior. Ethan joined her, maintaining a careful distance between them. "Where are we going?" she asked as the car pulled smoothly into traffic. "My office," Ethan replied, staring straight ahead. "It's not far." They rode in tense silence, Mia's mind racing through possibilities. Was he married? Involved in something illegal? About to fire her from the project? None of her theories prepared her for what came next. The car pulled up to one of the city's most prestigious office towers, a gleaming spire of glass and steel that housed some of the country's top technology companies. The driver escorted them through a private entrance and into an express elevator that required a key card to operate. "Ethan," Mia said, her patience evaporating. "Explain, now." "We're almost there," he replied, his voice tight. "I promise everything will make sense in a few minutes." The elevator opened directly into a reception area where a polished woman in her 50s looked up from behind an elegant desk. Her eyes widened slightly at the sight of Mia, but she recovered quickly. "Mr. Sinclair," she greeted Ethan. "Your 11:30 was moved to 2 o'clock, and the Tokyo team is waiting in the conference room for their call at noon." "Thank you, Margaret," Ethan replied. "Hold all calls for the next hour, please. Ms. Chen and I are not to be disturbed." Mia's head was spinning. Mr. Sinclair? His own reception area? What was happening? Ethan led her through double doors into a spacious corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Rain streaked the glass, blurring the view, but nothing could diminish the impressive space with its minimalist furnishings and original artwork. "Sit down, please," Ethan gestured to a seating area with sleek leather chairs. "I'd rather stand," Mia replied, crossing her arms. "Who are you?" "Really?" Ethan exhaled slowly. "My name is Ethan Sinclair. I'm the founder and CEO of Sinclair Technologies." Mia stared at him blankly for a moment before the name registered. Sinclair Technologies, one of the largest private tech companies in the country, known for its innovative software solutions and generous philanthropic initiatives. "That's not possible," she said slowly. "You're between jobs. You work on an app at coffee shops. You eat meatloaf at the diner almost every day." "All true," Ethan acknowledged, just not the complete truth. He ran a hand through his perfectly styled hair, a familiar gesture that seemed at odds with his transformed appearance. "I haven't been entirely honest with you, Mia. I'm sorry for that." "Why?" The question encompassed so much more than she could articulate. Why the deception? Why the revelation now? Why her? Ethan moved to a small bar tucked into the corner of the office. "Would you like some water? Or coffee?" "I want answers," Mia retorted, "not beverages." He nodded, pouring himself a glass of water he didn't drink. 6 months ago, I ended a relationship with someone who, it turned out, was more interested in my company and bank account than in me as a person. It wasn't the first time. His voice was matter-of-fact, but Mia caught the hint of old pain beneath the surface. After that ended, I found myself wondering if anyone would be interested in just me. Ethan, not Ethan Sinclair, tech CEO worth billions. "So you created a fake identity?" Mia asked incredulously. "Not fake," he corrected. "Incomplete. I never lied about who I am fundamentally. I just omitted certain details. Like being a billionaire." Mia said flatly. Ethan winced. It sounds ridiculous when you say it like that. Because it is ridiculous. Mia's voice rose as the full implications dawned on her. You've been playing some kind of bizarre game, what? Testing if I'm a gold digger. Seeing how the common people live? Was any of it real? All of it was real, Ethan insisted, taking a step toward her. The app project is real. It's a passion project I've been developing outside the company. The conversations we've had, my feelings for you, those are real too. Mia shook her head, trying to process the revelation. So you've been slumming it at the diner, pretending to be a struggling developer, while actually running a billion-dollar company from, where? Your phone in the bathroom? A flicker of embarrassment crossed Ethan's face. Not exactly. I've been working reduced hours, delegating more to my executive team. Those calls I had to take? Board meetings, investor updates, issues that couldn't wait. I've been balancing both worlds. Why reveal yourself now? Why not continue the charade? The hurt in her voice was evident even to her own ears. Ethan set down his untouched water. Because I care about you, Mia. More than I expected to, more than I've cared about anyone in a long time. After Saturday, after that kiss, I knew I couldn't continue letting you believe a partial truth. How considerate, Mia said bitterly. Especially after making sure I was thoroughly invested first. That wasn't my intention, Ethan protested. This started as an experiment, yes, but it became something else. Something real. Mia paced the length of the office, trying to sort through her jumbled emotions. Anger at the deception warred with the undeniable connection she'd felt with Ethan, a connection that now seemed tainted by his lies of omission. The money you paid me for the project, she said suddenly, turning to face him. Was that just charity? Your way of helping the poor waitress with her brother's tuition without revealing your true identity? No, Ethan replied firmly. Your insights have been invaluable. You've earned every penny. And the watercolor kit? Our conversations? That kiss? Were those all part of your billionaire social experiment too? Pain flashed across Ethan's face. You know they weren't. At least, I hope you do. Mia fell silent, staring out at the rain-washed city below. Everything looked different from this height. Smaller, more distant, less immediate. Was that how Ethan saw the world? From a remove that made other people's struggles seem manageable, even quaint? I need to get back to work, she said finally. My actual job, not your project. Mia, please. Ethan moved toward her, stopping when she held up a hand. Let me explain more fully. Let me show you that the man you've come to know is the real me, regardless of my financial situation. I don't know who the real you is anymore, Mia replied quietly, and I'm not sure you do either. She walked to the door, pausing with her hand on the handle. I'll complete the contract for the app. I gave my word, and I need the money. But beyond that, I think it's best if we keep things strictly professional. Without waiting for his response, she left, navigating her way back to the elevator and through the impressive lobby, feeling increasingly out of place in her simple diner uniform amidst the sleek professionals coming and going. Outside, the rain had stopped, but Mia barely noticed as she walked the 15 blocks back to the diner, her mind replaying every interaction with Ethan in this new, uncomfortable light. By the time she returned, her break had stretched well beyond 15 minutes, but Ray took one look at her face and simply handed her a mug of hot tea. That bad, huh? He asked gently. Worse, Mia replied, sinking onto a stool at the counter. He's not who I thought he was. Ray nodded sagely. Rarely are we exactly who others think we are, or even who we think we are ourselves. This is a bit more concrete than philosophical differences, Mia said with a weak smile. He's Ethan Sinclair, as in Sinclair Technologies. Ray whistled low. That explains a few things. You're not surprised? Mia asked incredulously. The cook shrugged. I told you he was carrying something. Though I was thinking more along the lines of a difficult divorce, not billions of dollars. He studied her face. The question is, does it change how you feel about him? Of course it does, Mia exclaimed. He lied to me. Did he? Or did he just not tell you everything right away? Ray wiped down the counter thoughtfully. Not saying it was right, but I can understand a man like that wanting to know if someone likes him for himself. That's what he said, Mia admitted. But it feels manipulative. Like he didn't trust me enough to be honest. Trust goes both ways, Ray observed. Maybe he needed to trust you first before he could be completely honest. Mia considered this as she finished her tea. It doesn't matter now. I told him we should keep things professional until the contract ends. Ray raised an eyebrow but said nothing, allowing Mia to retreat into her work for the remainder of her shift. That evening, as she prepared dinner for herself and Jamie, her phone dinged with an email notification. Expecting it to be from one of her professors, she was surprised to see Ethan's name. The subject line read simply, "I'm sorry." Against her better judgment, she opened it. Dear Mia, I understand your anger and disappointment. You have every right to both. What began as a simple desire to be known for myself rather than my wealth became complicated when I met you. You were never part of an experiment or a game. You are someone extraordinary who made me feel more like myself than I have in years. I respect your decision to keep our relationship professional. The contract stands, along with the payment terms. This was never about charity. Your contributions to the project have been invaluable. If you're willing, I'd like to show you something tomorrow that might help explain why this project, and you, have come to mean so much to me. Meet me at the address below at 4 p.m. If you don't come, I'll understand. Yours, Ethan. Mia stared at the screen, torn between lingering anger and curiosity. What could he possibly show her that would justify his deception? Everything okay? Jamie asked, setting the table. You're frowning at your phone like it insulted you. It's nothing, Mia replied, tucking the phone away. Just work stuff. That night, sleep eluded her as she debated whether to meet Ethan the next day. By morning, curiosity had won out over pride. She would go if only to get closure on whatever had been building between them. Her afternoon accounting class ended early, giving her time to change out of her uniform before meeting Ethan. She chose simple jeans and a sweater. Nothing fancy, but a step up from her work clothes. The address Ethan had provided led her to a nondescript building in a working-class neighborhood across town. It looked like a community center of some kind, with children's artwork displayed in the windows and a small playground visible around the side. Checking the address again to ensure she hadn't made a mistake, Mia approached the entrance. A hand-painted sign above the door read, Sinclair Youth Technology Center. Inside, the space was bright and bustling. Children ranging from elementary to high school age worked at computer stations, gathered around robotics tables, or collaborated in small groups. Adult mentors moved among them, offering guidance and encouragement. Can I help you? A friendly woman approached Mia. I'm looking for Ethan Sinclair, Mia replied, still taking in the surprising scene. Mr. S is in the back room with the coding club, the woman said with a smile. Go right through there and take a left. You can't miss them. They're the loud ones debating the merits of different programming languages. Following her directions, Mia found herself at the entrance to a classroom where a dozen teenagers were engaged in animated discussion. At the center of the group, sitting cross-legged on a desk rather than behind it, was Ethan. Gone was the polished CEO from yesterday and the casual coffee shop regular she'd grown accustomed to. This Ethan wore simple dark jeans and a faded tech conference t-shirt. He was gesturing enthusiastically as he explained something, his face lit with genuine passion. For a moment, Mia simply watched, struck by how natural he seemed, more authentic than either of his other personas had appeared. One of the students noticed her first, elbowing Ethan and nodding in her direction. His eyes found hers, a mix of surprise and relief washing over his features. Keep working on those algorithms, he told the group, sliding off the desk. I'll be back in a few minutes to check your progress. He approached Mia hesitantly. You came. I was curious, she replied, maintaining a cool distance. What is this place? Let me show you, Ethan said, gesturing for her to follow him. As they walked through the center, he explained its purpose. We established this 5 years ago in memory of my father. He grew up in this neighborhood before building his technology company. Despite his success, he never forgot where he came from. They paused to watch a group of younger children programming simple robots to navigate an obstacle course, their faces alight with concentration and delight. The center provides free technology education to kids who wouldn't otherwise have access, Ethan continued. Coding, robotics, digital art, web design, skills that can open doors to better futures. It's impressive, Mia acknowledged. But what does this have to do with your deception? Ethan led her to a small garden area behind the building, where wooden benches surrounded a modest fountain. They sat, the sounds of children's excited voices drifting through open windows. My father built his company from nothing, Ethan began. He was brilliant, driven, and completely absorbed in his work. He provided well for our family financially, but he was never really present. A shadow crossed his face. I grew up with everything money could buy and very little of what truly mattered. When he died 5 years ago, I inherited not just his company but his regrets. On his deathbed, he told me he wished he'd spent more time actually living than accumulating wealth. Ethan's voice softened. The center was my first attempt to honor both his legacy and his final lesson. Mia remained silent, listening. The financial planning app grew from the same impulse, Ethan continued. Working with these kids, I've seen how many of them enter adulthood without basic financial literacy. They work incredibly hard to get into college, only to be crushed by student debt they don't fully understand. He turned to face her directly. When I met you and learned about your situation with Jamie, it confirmed everything I'd been thinking. Smart, capable people derailed by a system designed to profit from their aspirations rather than support them. So I became part of your research? Mia asked, still hurt despite understanding his motivations better. No, Ethan said firmly. You became someone I admired. Someone who showed me what real strength and dedication look like. The days I spent at that diner, talking with you, were the most genuine human connection I've had in years. Why the charade, though? Why not just be honest from the beginning? Ethan sighed. The last 3 women I dated all claimed to love me for myself, not my money. All 3 had researched my net worth before our first dates. One had a detailed plan for spending my inheritance that she'd shared with her friends. His jaw tightened at the memory. After the last relationship ended, I made an impulsive decision. I wanted to know if anyone would see value in just me. Not the CEO, not the fortune, just the person. He met her eyes. And then I met you. And decided to test me, Mia concluded, the hurt still evident in her voice. It didn't start that way, Ethan insisted. I was already spending time at the diner before you started serving my section. I liked the anonymity, the normality of it. When we started talking, I didn't plan to develop feelings for you. I certainly didn't expect you to become so important to the app project, or to me. He reached for her hand, stopping when she withdrew it slightly. I should have told you sooner. I know that now. But every time I considered it, I worried it would change everything between us. And I wasn't ready to lose what we were building. Mia stared at the fountain, watching water cascade over smooth stones. Part of her understood his reasoning, even sympathized with it. But another part still felt betrayed by his lack of trust. I don't care about your money, Ethan, she said finally. I never have. But I do care about honesty, about being trusted. I know, he said quietly. And I'm asking for a chance to rebuild that trust, not as the CEO or the struggling developer, but as the real me, who is somehow both and neither at the same time. A teenager poked his head through the garden door. Mr. S., we've got a problem with the server configuration. I'll be right there, Ethan called back. To Mia, he said, I come here 3 afternoons a week. Have since we opened. These kids don't care about my stock portfolio or my company's market position. They just know I'll help them troubleshoot their code and bring decent snacks. Despite herself, Mia smiled slightly at this glimpse of yet another side of Ethan. I need to help them, he said, standing. But I'd like to continue this conversation. Would you stay? See what we're doing here? Maybe help with the digital art group. They could use someone with your eye for composition. Mia hesitated, then nodded slowly. I'll stay. But I'm not making any promises beyond that. Relief flooded Ethan's face. That's all I'm asking for. A chance. As she followed him back into the center, Mia found herself introduced to staff and students alike. To her surprise, many greeted Ethan with the casual familiarity of long acquaintance. teasing him about his coding preferences or asking about a book he'd recommended. This, she realized, was perhaps the most authentic version of Ethan she'd encountered yet. Neither the carefully casual coffee shop regular nor the polished corporate executive, but a man genuinely engaged in something meaningful to him. For the next 2 hours, Mia observed Ethan in this environment, occasionally joining a group of middle schoolers experimenting with digital painting tools. She found herself enjoying their enthusiasm and fresh perspectives, remembering her own artistic awakening at a similar age. When the center closed for the evening, Ethan approached her as she helped clean up a workstation. "Thank you for staying," he said simply. "I'm glad I did," Mia admitted. "This place is special." "Would you let me take you to dinner?" Ethan asked. "Not anywhere fancy. Maybe that Vietnamese place we went to before. I'd like to continue our conversation." Mia considered the request. Her anger had softened over the course of the afternoon, replaced by a more complex mix of emotions. Lingering hurt, yes, but also a growing understanding of Ethan's perspective. "Okay," she agreed, "but I have a condition." "Name it," Ethan said immediately. "No more half-truths, no omissions. I want to know who I'm really having dinner with." Ethan nodded solemnly. "Complete honesty from now on. I promise." As they walked to the restaurant, maintaining a careful distance between them, Mia found herself at a crossroads. Could she trust Ethan again? Was what they'd started building worth salvaging? Or had the foundation been too compromised by his deception? Only time would tell. But as they settled into the small restaurant where they'd shared their first real date, now with all cards on the table, Mia felt a cautious hope that perhaps honesty, however belated, might be enough to build something genuine after all. The small Vietnamese restaurant hummed with quiet conversation as Mia and Ethan settled at a corner table, the same one they'd shared on their first date. Mrs. Nguyen recognized them immediately, bringing over jasmine tea without being asked. "Good to see you two again," she said with a knowing smile. "Same order as before?" Ethan glanced at Mia, who nodded. "Yes, please," he confirmed. As Mrs. Nguyen bustled away, silence fell between them. Not the comfortable quiet they'd grown accustomed to, but something more tentative, laden with unspoken thoughts. "So," Mia finally said, cupping her tea, "Ethan Sinclair, tell me about him. The real him." Ethan took a deep breath. "Where should I start?" "The beginning is usually good," Mia suggested, a hint of her usual wit returning. "Fair enough." Ethan smiled slightly. "I was born in Oak Ridge, a small manufacturing town about 3 hours from here. My father was an engineer who started tinkering with computer programming in our garage. My mother taught high school science. He described a childhood that sounded surprisingly normal, despite his father's growing success. Public schools, summer camps, a paper route at 12. Things changed when Sinclair Sr.'s garage project evolved into a legitimate company. Suddenly, my father was traveling constantly, working 18-hour days. Our relationship became a series of brief interactions between his business calls. A shadow crossed Ethan's face. By the time I was in high school, we were living in a different world. Private schools, country clubs, vacation homes we rarely visited. "And your mother?" Mia asked. "She tried to keep us grounded," Ethan said softly. "Insisted I work summer jobs, made me do chores, limited my spending money despite our wealth. She knew what was happening to our family and fought to maintain some normalcy. Their food arrived, steaming bowls of pho and plates of fresh spring rolls, momentarily pausing the conversation. When Mrs. Nguyen departed, Ethan continued his story. He'd attended Stanford, studying computer science like his father, but with a focus on educational applications. After graduation, he'd worked at his father's company, rising through the ranks on merit rather than nepotism. "When Dad got sick 5 years ago, everything changed," Ethan said, his voice growing quieter. "Pancreatic cancer. It moved fast. In his final weeks, he talked more openly than he had my entire life. About his regrets, his hopes for the company, his wish that I would learn from his mistakes." "What mistakes?" Mia asked gently. "Prioritizing wealth over relationships. Creating technology without considering its human impact. Forgetting where he came from." Ethan's eyes met hers. "He told me that for all his success, his greatest failure was not being present for the people who mattered." Mia felt a pang of empathy, remembering her own father's final days. That must have been difficult to hear. It was, Ethan acknowledged, but also clarifying. When I took over as CEO, I made changes. Established the youth center, redirected company resources toward educational technology, created more family-friendly policies for our employees. He hesitated before adding, I also tried to have a personal life. Dating. Relationships. But my father's legacy followed me there too. Not his wisdom, but his wealth. Hence the coffee shop regular persona, Mia concluded. Hence the coffee shop regular, Ethan confirmed, though that started accidentally. After my last relationship ended badly, I took some time off. Started wandering the city, working remotely, trying to clear my head. I found your diner by chance and kept coming back because it felt real. No one knew who I was. No one treated me differently. And then there was me, Mia said quietly. And then there was you. Ethan's expression softened. Recommending meatloaf and working 3 jobs to put your brother through college. The more I learned about you, the more I admired your determination. Your integrity. So you offered me a job. I needed help with the app, Ethan insisted. That was true. But yes, I also wanted to help with your brother's tuition. I just couldn't figure out how to do it without revealing everything or having you reject the offer out of pride. Mia stirred her soup thoughtfully. I probably would have, she admitted. The job let me help Jamie while maintaining my dignity. They ate in silence for a few minutes, the air between them gradually losing some of its tension. What happens now? Mia finally asked. With us? Ethan set down his chopsticks. That depends on you. I'd like to continue what we started, getting to know each other, spending time together, but this time with complete honesty. And the app project? Still very real, Ethan assured her. Your insights have been invaluable. I'd like you to continue working on it, regardless of other developments between us. Mia considered this. I need time, Ethan, to process everything, to decide if I can trust you again. I understand, he said, disappointment evident in his voice, despite his attempt to hide it. Take all the time you need. When they finished their meal, Ethan insisted on driving her home, though he maintained a respectful distance as they walked to his car. Not the luxury vehicle from earlier, but a more modest sedan. You have multiple cars, too? Mia asked, raising an eyebrow. This one's actually my everyday car, Ethan explained as they settled inside. The other one is for client meetings and formal business events. Of course it is, Mia murmured, a hint of teasing in her voice. The drive to her apartment was quiet, but not uncomfortable. When they arrived, Ethan turned to her. Thank you for today, he said sincerely. For coming to the center. For listening. Thank you for showing me, Mia replied. It helped me understand a lot of things. He nodded, clearly wanting to say more but restraining himself. Good night, Mia. Good night, Ethan. As she entered her apartment, Mia found Jamie sprawled on the couch, textbooks forgotten as he dozed in front of a documentary. She gently shook him awake. Hey, Sleeping Beauty. You have an exam tomorrow, remember? Jamie blinked groggily. I was studying. Sort of. He sat up, rubbing his eyes. How was your date with the billionaire? It wasn't a date, Mia corrected automatically. We were just talking. Right, Jamie smirked. Talking. About his billions. Actually, Mia said, sinking onto the couch beside him, we were talking about his youth technology center and the app we're developing. It's pretty impressive stuff. Jamie studied her face. You're not still mad at him for the whole secret identity thing? I'm processing, Mia admitted. It's complicated. Life usually is, Jamie yawned. But for what it's worth, the guy must really care about you. Why else go through all that trouble? Or he has serious trust issues, Mia countered. Maybe both, Jamie suggested. The question is whether what you feel for him is worth working through those issues. Mia blinked at her younger brother's unexpected wisdom. When did you get so insightful about relationships? I watch a lot of reality TV between study sessions, he grinned. Very educational. The next morning, Mia woke to a text from Ethan. No pressure, no expectations. Just wanted to say I'm thinking about you. The door to the center is always open if you want to visit again. She smiled despite herself, appreciating that he was giving her the space she'd requested while still making his interest clear. Her shift at the diner passed uneventfully. Ethan didn't appear, and she found herself missing his presence at his usual table. By the time she got home, she'd made a decision. Picking up her phone, she typed a message. "I'd like to continue working on the app. Professional boundaries for now, but I'm not closing the door on other possibilities. Just need time." His response came quickly. "I understand and respect that. The project and I will both be here when you're ready." For the next 2 weeks, they maintained a cordial professional relationship. 3 times a week, they met at coffee shops to work on the app. Ethan now arriving in his true identity, no longer hiding his knowledge or connections. The work progressed well, their natural synergy undiminished, despite the new boundaries between them. Mia found herself watching Ethan closely during these sessions, trying to reconcile the different versions of him she'd encountered. Gradually, she began to see that they weren't separate personas at all, but facets of a complex whole. The casual coffee shop regular, the passionate educator, and the shrewd businessman all coexisting within the same person. On Friday afternoon, as they wrapped up a particularly productive session, Ethan closed his laptop with uncharacteristic hesitation. "I have a proposition for you," he said, echoing the words he'd used when first offering her the job. "A professional one," he clarified quickly. "I'm listening," Mia replied, curious. "The app is nearly ready for beta testing. We need to assemble a team to handle the launch and early user feedback." He paused. "I'd like you to lead that team. Full-time position, competitive salary, flexible hours to accommodate your classes." Mia stared at him. "You're offering me a job? A real job at Sinclair Technologies?" "Not at the main company," Ethan clarified. "This would be a separate division focused solely on educational and financial literacy technology. You'd report directly to me, but you'd have considerable autonomy." "Ethan," Mia said carefully, "is this another way of trying to help me financially without making it seem like charity?" He met her eyes steadily. "This is me recognizing talent and dedication when I see it. Your insights have shaped this project from the beginning. You understand our target users because you've lived their challenges. No one is better qualified to guide this app through launch and beyond." "But I don't have a degree yet," Mia protested. "I'm still a year away from finishing my accounting program. So finish it while working with us," Ethan countered. "We'll accommodate your class schedule. This isn't about paper qualifications, Mia. It's about real-world understanding and problem-solving ability. You have both in abundance." Mia fell silent, considering the offer. It would solve her financial concerns completely, allow her to focus more on her studies, and provide valuable career experience. But it would also further entangle her professional and personal life with Ethan's. "Can I think about it?" she asked finally. "Of course," Ethan nodded. "Take the weekend. We can discuss it more on Monday." As they parted ways outside the coffee shop, Mia felt Ethan's eyes lingering on her, full of unspoken feelings. For the first time in weeks, she allowed herself to acknowledge the persistent pull she felt toward him, despite everything. That evening, as Mia explained the job offer to Jamie over dinner, her brother's reaction surprised her. "You're hesitating because of the personal stuff between you two," he observed. "But think about it, Mia. How many opportunities like this come along? A ground floor position in a project you believe in? Working for one of the most innovative tech companies around? It's more complicated than that," Mia sighed. "If I take the job and things don't work out between us personally, it could get awkward. And if you don't take it because you're afraid of that possibility, you might regret it forever," Jamie countered. "You've spent 3 years putting your life on hold for me. Maybe it's time to take a chance on something for yourself." His words echoed in her mind throughout the weekend as she weighed the opportunity. By Sunday evening, she'd made her decision, but another concern had emerged. She picked up her phone and texted Ethan. "Before I give you my answer about the job, I need to visit the youth center again. Tomorrow after my morning class? Around 11? I'll meet you there," came his immediate reply. The next morning, Mia arrived at the Sinclair Youth Technology Center to find Ethan waiting outside. He looked both hopeful and nervous, a vulnerability she'd rarely seen in him. "Thank you for coming," he said. "What would you like to see?" "Everything," Mia replied. But especially the digital arts program you mentioned. Ethan led her through the center, which was quieter than her previous visit. Most of the children were in school at this hour. A few staff members worked at desks or prepared materials for afternoon sessions. In a bright corner room, a young woman was organizing digital tablets and art supplies. She looked up as they entered. Ethan! Didn't expect you until later. Her eyes moved curiously to Mia. Layla, this is Mia Chen. Ethan introduced them. Mia. Layla Rodriguez is our digital arts coordinator. She's building the program from scratch. On a shoestring budget, Layla added with a good-natured grimace. But we make it work. Mia is an artist, Ethan said. Watercolors primarily, though she hasn't had much time for it recently. Mia shot him a surprised look. She hadn't realized he'd remembered that detail from their early conversations. We could use another perspective, Layla said enthusiastically, especially someone with traditional media experience. These kids need to understand fundamentals before diving into digital tools. As Layla described her program's challenges and goals, Mia found herself offering suggestions, ways to incorporate traditional techniques into digital frameworks, ideas for projects that would build foundational skills while engaging modern sensibilities. You should join us, Layla said after a particularly insightful comment from Mia. We need more instructors who understand both worlds. Actually, Mia said slowly, glancing at Ethan, that's partly why I wanted to come today. Ethan offered me a position leading the app launch team, but I had another idea. Ethan raised an eyebrow, clearly surprised. I'd like to split my time, Mia continued. Half on the app project, half here at the center developing the arts program alongside Layla. Both use different parts of my brain, different aspects of my experience. Both matter to me. A slow smile spread across Ethan's face. That could work. We'd need to adjust the salary structure, of course, but... The salary stays as offered, Mia interrupted firmly. I'm proposing more value, not less. The center and the app are both Sinclair initiatives, right? Consider it cross-pollination. Layla laughed at Ethan's momentarily stunned expression. I like her, she told him. Smart negotiator. You have no idea, Ethan murmured, his eyes never leaving Mia's face. To her, he said, we can make that arrangement work if it's what you want. It is, Mia confirmed, but I have one more condition. Name it, Ethan said, echoing his words from their dinner. The job is strictly professional. Whatever happens or doesn't happen between us personally remains separate. Mia held his gaze steadily. I need to know my position isn't dependent on our relationship status. Absolutely, Ethan agreed immediately. I'll put it in writing if you'd like. Your professional role is based solely on your abilities and contributions. Then I accept, Mia said, extending her hand formally. Ethan shook it, his touch lingering slightly longer than necessary. Welcome to the team, Miss Chen. Layla glanced between them, clearly sensing the undercurrents. I'll just go inventory our supplies, she said tactfully, slipping from the room. Alone, Mia and Ethan stood in momentary silence, their hands still loosely joined. Thank you for trusting me with this opportunity, Mia said quietly. Both opportunities. Thank you for giving me a second chance, Ethan replied, professionally at least. One step at a time, Mia said, gently withdrawing her hand. I'm still processing everything, Ethan nodded. I understand. No pressure, I promise. As they walked through the center making plans for Mia's dual role, she found herself studying Ethan's interactions with the staff, the genuine respect he showed everyone from the administrative assistant to the maintenance worker, the way he remembered personal details about their lives, his willingness to listen to their ideas and concerns. This, she realized, was perhaps the most telling insight into his character, not how he treated her, but how he treated everyone, regardless of their position or usefulness to him. By the time they parted ways that afternoon, something had shifted in Mia's perspective. The hurt of his deception hadn't vanished entirely, but it had been contextualized by a deeper understanding of his motivations and values. The following weeks brought dramatic changes to Mia's life. She gave notice at the diner, keeping only her weekend shifts until the semester ended. Her new position began immediately, dividing her time between app development and the youth center's arts program. To her surprise, Ethan maintained a respectful professional distance, true to his word about separating their working relationship from personal matters. He was unfailingly supportive of her ideas, quick to recognize her contributions in team meetings, and careful never to leverage his position as her technical boss. This restraint, more than anything, began to rebuild Mia's trust. It would have been easy for him to use their work proximity to press for more, yet he consistently respected the boundaries she'd established. A month into her new role, as Mia was setting up for an afternoon art class at the center, Jamie appeared unexpectedly at the door. "Surprise inspection," he grinned, looking around appreciatively. "So this is where my sister's been hiding." "Jamie, what are you doing here?" Mia embraced him quickly. "Don't you have classes today?" "Finished early," he shrugged. "Thought I'd check out this place you keep talking about. Maybe meet the famous Ethan Sinclair." "He's in meetings at the main office today," Mia said, feeling oddly disappointed at missing the chance to introduce them. "But I can show you around." As they toured the facility, Jamie's engineering mind engaged immediately with the robotics program and coding workshops. Before long, he was deep in conversation with one of the instructors about possibly volunteering as a mentor. "These kids remind me of me," he told Mia as they walked back to the arts room, "except they have resources I never did at their age." "That's the whole point," Mia replied. "Creating opportunities regardless of background." Jamie studied her face. "You seem happy here. Happier than I've seen you in years." "I am," Mia admitted. "The work is meaningful. I'm using both my practical skills and creative ones. It feels right." "And Ethan?" Jamie asked perceptively. "Where does he fit into this happiness equation?" Mia busied herself arranging supplies. "We're colleagues. Friends, maybe?" "Right," Jamie drawled skeptically. "Just colleagues who happen to have chemistry that's visible from space." "It's complicated," Mia sighed. "Only because you're making it complicated," Jamie countered. The guy made a mistake. A pretty understandable one, given his circumstances. He's respected your boundaries, created amazing opportunities for you without making them feel like charity, and from what I can see, built something genuinely impactful here. Mia looked at her younger brother in surprise. "When did you become his advocate?" "I'm your advocate," Jamie corrected. "And I think you're letting fear hold you back from something that could be really good for you. For once in your life, Mia, maybe it's time to take a risk on your own happiness, instead of always playing it safe." His words resonated uncomfortably. Was she hiding behind professional boundaries because she was still hurt? Or because she was afraid of the vulnerability that came with opening her heart again? Before she could respond, her phone chimed with a notification. The beta version of the app was ready for final review before its soft launch next week. She needed to return to the main office. "I've got to go," she told Jamie. "Will you be okay getting home?" "Actually," he grinned, "I think I'll hang around and talk more with the robotics team about volunteering, if that's okay." "More than okay," Mia assured him, gathering her things. "This place has a way of drawing you in." As she headed toward the main Sinclair Technologies building, Mia found herself reflecting on the parallels between her brother's journey and her own. Both had faced significant challenges, both had received unexpected opportunities, and both were now finding ways to give back. Perhaps it was time to extend that pattern of growth to her personal life as well. Perhaps it was time to stop protecting herself from potential hurt and start embracing potential joy instead. With that thought firmly in mind, Mia entered the imposing glass tower of Sinclair Technologies, her decision made. After the app launch, she would have a conversation with Ethan, one that would either close the door on what might have been or open it to what could still be. Either way, it would be her choice, made from a position of strength and clarity, rather than confusion and hurt. And that, she realized, was progress worth celebrating in itself. The week of the app launch transformed Sinclair Technologies' educational division into a hive of focused energy. Mia found herself at the center of the whirlwind, coordinating between developers, marketing specialists, and the first group of student beta testers. Despite the pressure, she thrived on the collaborative atmosphere and the knowledge that their work could genuinely help young people navigate financial challenges. Ethan was a constant presence, balancing hands-on involvement with giving Mia the autonomy to lead. Their professional rapport had evolved into a smooth partnership that drew admiring comments from team members. If anyone noticed the careful distance they maintained outside of work discussions, no one mentioned it. On the eve of the launch, the team worked late into the night, making final adjustments based on last-minute feedback. As midnight approached, Mia found herself alone in the conference room with Ethan, both of them reviewing user interface tweaks on their laptops. "I think we're ready," she said finally, closing her computer and stretching tired muscles. "The navigation issues are fixed, and the budget calculator is much more intuitive now." Ethan nodded, his eyes reflecting the same mixture of exhaustion and excitement she felt. "This wouldn't have happened without you," he said quietly. "Your understanding of what these students need has shaped every aspect of the app." "It was a team effort," Mia demurred, though his praise warmed her. "A team you led brilliantly." Ethan closed his own laptop, "Which reminds me, I have something for you." From his briefcase, he withdrew a small wrapped package and slid it across the table to her. "Don't worry," he added, seeing her hesitation. "It's purely professional. A launch tradition at Sinclair." Curious, Mia unwrapped the package to find a sleek business card holder engraved with her name and a new title, Director of Educational Initiatives. "What is this?" she asked, running her fingers over the engraved letters. "A promotion," Ethan explained. "The board approved it yesterday. Once the app launches, we're expanding the educational division to develop more resources for schools and community centers. We'd like you to lead that expansion." Mia stared at him, momentarily speechless. "But I've only been here a month." "A month in which you've proven your value many times over," Ethan countered. "This isn't about me, Mia. The board reviewed your contributions independently. They're impressed by your ability to bridge practical financial knowledge with accessible educational approaches." Pride and disbelief warred within her. Just 6 weeks ago, she'd been a waitress and part-time accounting student struggling to help her brother stay in school. Now she was being offered a director-level position at one of the country's most innovative tech companies. "Thank you," she said finally. "I don't know what else to say." "Say you'll accept," Ethan suggested with a smile. "The salary bump is substantial, and you'll have budget authority for the Youth Center's arts program as well." Mia hesitated only briefly before nodding. "I accept, but you should know I'm still planning to finish my degree." "I'd expect nothing less," Ethan replied. "We'll continue accommodating your class schedule." And comfortable silence fell between them, the first in weeks. Mia found herself studying Ethan's face, noting the shadows beneath his eyes and the tension he carried in his shoulders despite his evident satisfaction with the app's progress. "You look tired," she observed. "I am," he admitted, "but it's the good kind of tired. The kind that comes from building something worthwhile." Against her better judgment, Mia asked, "How's your mother? You mentioned she has health issues." Surprise flickered across Ethan's features, followed by appreciation for her remembered concern. "Better recently. The new treatment protocol seems to be working. She's actually coming to the launch tomorrow, her first public appearance in nearly a year." "I'll look forward to meeting her," Mia said sincerely. Ethan hesitated before adding, "She's asked about you, actually. I may have mentioned your contributions to the project, and other things." "What other things?" Mia asked, her pulse quickening slightly. "That you're extraordinary," Ethan said simply. "That meeting you changed my perspective on what matters." The directness of his statement caught Mia off guard. For weeks, he'd respected her request for professional boundaries, never pressing for more, despite the undeniable connection between them. "Ethan," she began, uncertain what she wanted to say. He raised a hand gently. "No pressure, remember? I promised you that. I just wanted you to know that my feelings haven't changed. If anything, working with you these past weeks has only deepened my respect and admiration." Before Mia could formulate a response, Ethan's phone chimed with a text. He glanced at it and grimaced slightly. "The social media team needs final approval on the launch announcement," he explained, standing. "I should handle this. You should go home and get some rest. Tomorrow's a big day." With that, The moment passed, leaving Mia with a curious mixture of relief and disappointment as she gathered her things and headed home. The next morning dawned bright and clear, a perfect day for new beginnings. The app launch was structured as a small event at the youth center, highlighting the connection between Sinclair Technologies and the community it served. Local media had been invited, along with educators, financial literacy advocates, and a select group of students who'd participated in the beta testing. Mia arrived early, wearing a new blazer over a simple dress, professional but still authentically her. The center had been transformed with subtle decorations and a refreshment table, while demonstration stations showcased the app's features. As she checked final details with the team, Mia spotted Ethan near the entrance greeting early arrivals. Beside him stood an elegant woman in her 60s, with Ethan's same blue-gray eyes and thoughtful expression. His mother, Eleanor Sinclair, carried herself with quiet dignity, despite the cane she leaned on lightly. Taking a deep breath, Mia approached them. Ethan's face brightened when he saw her. "Mother, this is Mia Chen, the director I've told you so much about," he said, a note of pride evident in his voice. "Mia, my mother, Eleanor Sinclair." "It's a pleasure to meet you, Mrs. Sinclair," Mia said, extending her hand. Eleanor bypassed the offered handshake and instead clasped Mia's hand between both of hers. "The pleasure is mine, my dear. Ethan speaks of you constantly, your insight, your dedication, your artistic talent. I feel I know you already." Warmth crept into Mia's cheeks. "He exaggerates," she demurred. "My son rarely exaggerates," Eleanor said with a knowing smile, "particularly about people he admires." Her gaze was piercing yet kind, seeming to see beyond Mia's professional facade to the uncertainties beneath. "The center looks wonderful," Eleanor continued, glancing around. "Richard would have been so pleased to see how it's grown." At Mia's questioning look, she added, "My late husband. This center was Ethan's tribute to him, a way of honoring his father's beginnings while addressing his regrets." "It's making a real difference," Mia said, thinking of the children whose lives were being changed by access to technology and mentorship. "Your family has created something special here." "As have you, from what I understand," Eleanor replied. "Ethan tells me the arts program has flourished under your guidance." Before Mia could respond, they were interrupted by the arrival of the mayor and several city council members. Ethan excused himself to greet them, leaving Mia momentarily alone with his mother. "He's different since meeting you," Eleanor said quietly, watching her son. "More present, more balanced. I haven't seen him this engaged, truly engaged, not just working himself to exhaustion, in years." "We've built a good working relationship," Mia said carefully. Eleanor's eyes, so like her son's, turned back to Mia. "Is that all it is?" The directness of the question startled Mia. "Forgive me," Eleanor said, patting Mia's hand. "I've become too direct since my illness. When you realize your time might be limited, you stop wasting it on social niceties." She smiled warmly. "I simply meant that whatever you've brought to my son's life, it seems to have been exactly what he needed." With that cryptic statement, Eleanor moved toward a seating area where other guests were gathering, leaving Mia to ponder her words. The launch event unfolded seamlessly. Ethan gave a brief, powerful speech about the importance of financial literacy and the app's mission to democratize financial knowledge. Several students shared their experiences from the beta testing, describing how the tools had already helped them make better decisions about college financing and budgeting. When it came time for Mia to speak about the educational aspects of the app, she found herself drawing on her own experiences, the challenges she and Jamie had faced navigating student loans, the lack of practical financial education in schools, and the difference that accessible, straightforward guidance could make. Financial knowledge shouldn't be a privilege for the few, she concluded. It should be a right for everyone. This app is just the beginning of making that right a reality. The applause was enthusiastic, with Eleanor Sinclair among the most vigorous in her approval. Ethan caught Mia's eye from across the room, his expression a mixture of pride and something deeper that made her heart beat faster. As the formal presentations ended and guests began exploring the demonstration stations, Jamie appeared at Mia's side, surprising her. "Jamie, what are you doing here? Don't you have a thermodynamics final today?" "Finished early," he grinned. "Couldn't miss my sister's big debut as a tech executive." He glanced around admiringly. This is impressive, Mia. Really impressive. I had a lot of help, she said, but couldn't suppress her own smile of satisfaction. Miss Chen, a voice interrupted them. Mia turned to find a reporter from the city's business journal holding a recorder. Could I ask you a few questions about the educational philosophy behind the app? Of course, Mia agreed. To Jamie, she said, Duty calls. Help yourself to refreshments? Actually, Jamie replied with a mischievous glint, I think I'll introduce myself to the boss. He nodded toward Ethan, who was speaking with a group of educators nearby. Jamie, Mia warned, but he was already moving away, leaving her to focus on the reporter's questions. 20 minutes later, as the interview concluded, Mia scanned the room for her brother. She spotted him deep in conversation with Ethan, both men laughing comfortably as if they'd known each other for years. As she approached, she caught the tail end of their exchange. Definitely her stubbornness, Jamie was saying. Once Mia decides something is worth fighting for, nothing stops her. I've noticed that quality, Ethan replied, his tone warm with admiration. It's one of many things He stopped as he saw Mia approach. Ah, here's the woman herself. Should I be worried about what my brother's been telling you? Mia asked, eyeing Jamie suspiciously. Only good things, Ethan assured her, though his definition of good might include some stories about your overprotective tendencies. I prefer to call it responsible sibling supervision, Mia retorted, making both men laugh. Your brother was just telling me about his engineering program, Ethan continued. His work on renewable energy storage systems is fascinating. Jamie shrugged modestly. Just a senior project, but yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. Have you considered applying for the Sinclair Innovation Fellowship? Ethan asked. It provides funding and mentorship for promising engineering graduates developing sustainable technology solutions. Jamie's eyes widened. Seriously? That's like the holy grail for engineering students. The application deadline is next month, Ethan said. I'd be happy to connect you with the program director. Mia shot Ethan a warning look. Jamie should apply on his own merits, not because of any connection to me. Absolutely, Ethan agreed immediately. The selection process is completely blind. Applications are coded and reviewed without names attached. I'm simply suggesting he consider it, given his area of focus. Jamie looked between them, amusement playing across his features. Don't worry, sis. I can fight my own battles now. To Ethan, he added, I'd appreciate that introduction, though. The fellowship would be an amazing opportunity. As the conversation continued, Mia found herself observing the easy rapport between her brother and Ethan. There was nothing forced about their interaction, no sense that Ethan was trying to impress her through Jamie. Instead, he seemed genuinely interested in Jamie's academic work and future plans. The event began winding down around mid-afternoon. As the last guest departed, the team gathered for a celebratory toast with sparkling cider. Ethan raised his glass to the group. To everyone who made this possible, he said, especially our extraordinary director Mia Chen, who kept us focused on the people this app will serve. Cheers erupted, and Mia felt a flush of pride mixed with slight embarrassment at being singled out. As the team dispersed to begin cleanup, Eleanor approached her again. Would you join me for a moment? She asked, gesturing toward a quiet corner. I find I need to rest these old bones before heading home. Mia followed her to a small seating area, concerned by the older woman's sudden pallor. Can I get you some water? Or call Ethan? No, Eleanor waved away her concern. I just needed a moment of quiet. And some private conversation with you, if you don't mind. Settling into a chair, Eleanor regarded Mia thoughtfully. My son tells me you've maintained professional boundaries between you since his revelation. Mia shifted uncomfortably. We thought it was appropriate, given the circumstances. And what do you think now? Eleanor asked directly. Now that you've worked together, seen each other's true capabilities and character? Mrs. Sinclair. Eleanor, please. Eleanor, Mia amended. I'm not sure this is a conversation we should be having. Indulge an old woman with limited time, Eleanor said, her expression softening. I've watched my son retreat into his work since his father died, using success as a shield against genuine connection, until recently. She reached out to touch Mia's hand. "I don't presume to know what's in your heart, my dear. But I know my son, and I know that whatever happened between you has awakened something in him that I feared might be lost forever." Mia felt a lump forming in her throat. "He's an extraordinary person," she admitted. "But our beginnings were complicated." "Most worthwhile things are," Eleanor replied with a small smile. "Richard and I had a complicated beginning, too. He was my professor in graduate school, quite scandalous at the time." This unexpected revelation surprised a laugh from Mia. "Really?" "Oh, yes," Eleanor's eyes twinkled with the memory. "We waited until the semester ended, of course, but there were still raised eyebrows. His family thought I was, after his brilliant mind and budding career. My family thought he was too old for me, 15 years my senior." "What made you take the risk?" Mia asked, genuinely curious. Eleanor considered the question. "I realized that the potential joy of being with him outweighed the fear of what might go wrong. Fear is a poor compass, Mia. It will always point you toward safety, but rarely toward growth or fulfillment." Before Mia could respond, Ethan approached, concern evident in his expression as he took in his mother's tired appearance. "Are you all right, Mother? You look pale." "Just conserving my energy for the victory dinner you promised me," Eleanor replied lightly. "The car is waiting whenever you're ready." Ethan looked between them, clearly curious about their conversation but too polite to ask. "We can leave now if you'd like. The team has everything under control here." Eleanor rose with dignified grace. "Wonderful. Will you be joining us, Mia?" "I've booked a private room at Alessandro's. There's plenty of space." Mia hesitated, caught off guard by the invitation. "No pressure," Ethan said quickly. "It's been a long day, and you might want some time to decompress." Something in his careful neutrality made Mia's decision for her. "Actually, I'd love to join you. If you're sure I'm not intruding on family time." "Not at all," Eleanor assured her. "In fact, I insist. I want to hear more about this arts program you've developed." As they walked to the waiting car, Eleanor deliberately slowed her pace, allowing Ethan to move ahead to speak with the driver. In the brief moment of privacy, she leaned closer to Mia. "Remember what I said about fear," she murmured. "It's a terrible thing to look back on life and wonder what might have been if you'd been braver." The restaurant was everything Mia expected from an establishment frequented by the Sinclairs. Elegant without being ostentatious, with impeccable service and a menu that made her grateful she'd worn her new dress rather than something more casual. Throughout dinner, conversation flowed easily between topics: the app launch, the youth center's impact, Eleanor's work as a retired science educator, and Jamie's engineering projects. Mia found herself relaxing in the warm atmosphere, struck by how natural it felt to be sharing a meal with Ethan and his mother. "Ethan tells me you paint," Eleanor said as they lingered over dessert. "Watercolors primarily." "I used to," Mia acknowledged. "I've recently started again, in small ways." "She's being modest," Ethan interjected. "The landscapes she's created for the Youth Center's arts room are beautiful. The students are constantly asking her to demonstrate techniques." Mia felt warmth creep into her cheeks at his praise. It's therapeutic more than anything. A way to unwind after long days of numbers and spreadsheets. "Balance is essential," Eleanor nodded approvingly. Richard never understood that until it was too late. He thought single-minded focus was the path to success, not realizing what he was sacrificing along the way. Her gaze moved to her son. Ethan learned that lesson earlier, thankfully, though he occasionally needs reminding. "Mother," Ethan warned good-naturedly, "Mia doesn't need to hear about my workaholic tendencies." "Oh, I think she's observed them firsthand," Eleanor replied with a mischievous smile. "Just as you've undoubtedly witnessed her remarkable dedication." The evening continued pleasantly, but as they were preparing to leave, Eleanor suddenly paled, gripping the edge of the table. Ethan was immediately at her side. "Mother? What is it?" "Just a spell of dizziness," Eleanor assured him, though her voice was weaker than before. "Perhaps I've overtaxed myself today." "I'm calling Dr. Winters," Ethan said firmly, already reaching for his phone. "Don't be ridiculous," Eleanor protested. "I just need to rest." "At the hospital," Ethan insisted, "where they can monitor you properly." Mia watched the exchange with growing concern, recognizing the fear beneath Ethan's controlled exterior. When Eleanor finally acquiesced to a medical check, Mia found herself automatically gathering their belongings and coordinating with the restaurant staff, while Ethan focused on his mother. "You should go home," Ethan told Mia as they waited for the car. "This could be a long night, and you've already done so much today." "I'm coming with you," Mia replied without hesitation. "Unless you'd prefer privacy, of course." Relief washed over his features. "No, I'd appreciate the company, actually." The next hours passed in a blur of hospital efficiency as Eleanor was admitted, examined, and settled into a private room for observation. Her condition stabilized quickly, the episode attributed to mild dehydration and fatigue rather than a serious setback in her treatment. But the doctors wanted to keep her overnight as a precaution. As midnight approached, Mia and Ethan sat in uncomfortable chairs outside Eleanor's room, waiting for the final round of test results. Exhaustion was evident in the slump of Ethan's shoulders and the shadows beneath his eyes. "You should get some sleep," Mia suggested gently. "I can stay and call you if anything changes." Ethan shook his head. "I couldn't sleep anyway. Not until I'm sure she's stable." "She seems strong," Mia offered, "like someone who's weathered many storms." "She is," Ethan agreed, a sad smile touching his lips. "Stronger than anyone I know. But cancer is relentless, and this new treatment protocol is taxing." He ran a hand through his already disheveled hair. "I should have known today would be too much for her. The excitement, the socializing, the extended time on her feet." "She wanted to be there," Mia reminded him. "She's proud of you, Ethan. That was obvious to everyone." "Still," he sighed, "I should have been more careful." Without thinking, Mia reached over and took his hand. "You can't control everything. Sometimes you have to let people you love make their own choices, even if those choices involve risk." Ethan's fingers tightened around hers, his gaze moving from their joined hands to her face. "When did you get so wise?" "I've had a good teacher recently," Mia admitted. "Someone who showed me that meaningful work and meaningful relationships aren't mutually exclusive. That vulnerability doesn't have to mean weakness." Understanding dawned in Ethan's eyes. "Mia, are you saying—" A doctor's arrival interrupted whatever question he'd been about to ask. "Mr. Sinclair? Your mother's tests all came back clear. No signs of any serious issues. We'll keep her overnight as planned, but she should be able to go home in the morning." Relief washed over Ethan's features. "Thank you, doctor. May I see her?" "She's asking for both of you, actually," the doctor replied, glancing at Mia. They found Eleanor propped up in bed, looking tired but alert. Her face brightened as they entered. "There you are," she said. "Ethan, darling, stop looking so worried." "I'm perfectly fine." "Just an old woman who forgot to pace herself." "You scared me," Ethan admitted, taking the chair beside her bed. "Nonsense. It takes more than a little dehydration to keep me down." Eleanor's gaze moved to Mia, who hovered uncertainly near the door. "Mia, dear, come sit. I want to thank you for staying with my son through this minor drama." "It was no trouble," Mia assured her, moving closer. Eleanor reached out, taking one of each of their hands in hers. "Life is too short for hesitation," she said softly, "too precious for fear to have the final word." Her meaningful glance between them made her intent clear. Before either could respond, she continued, "Now I need to rest, and you two need to talk. Properly talk, without the convenient interruptions that have become a pattern." "Mother," Ethan began, a note of embarrassment in his voice. "Hush," Eleanor said fondly. "Meddling is a mother's prerogative, especially when she sees her child circling happiness without quite grasping it." With that, she settled back against her pillows, a small smile playing at her lips as she closed her eyes. "Good night, you two. I trust you'll find your way." In the hallway outside Eleanor's room, Mia and Ethan stood in momentary silence, both processing the not-so-subtle nudge they'd received. "Your mother is quite direct," Mia observed finally. "An understatement," Ethan replied with a rueful smile. "But she's not wrong." He paused, gathering his thoughts. "Mia, these past weeks, working together, keeping that professional distance while getting to know each other more deeply, have only confirmed what I felt from the beginning. There's something special between us. Something worth exploring fully if you're willing." Mia considered his words, thinking of all they'd shared and learned about each other. The initial deception that had hurt her now seemed a small detour in a journey that had ultimately led them to a more honest understanding. "I am willing," she said softly. "I think I have been for a while, but I needed to be sure of you, of myself, of what we might build together." Hope bloomed in Ethan's eyes. "And now? Now I think Eleanor is right," Mia said with growing confidence. "Life is too short for hesitation, too precious to let fear have the final word." In the quiet hospital corridor, with the day's triumphs and concerns still swirling around them, Ethan reached for her hand. This time, Mia didn't pull away. Instead, she interlaced her fingers with his, taking the first step toward whatever future they might create together, not as a waitress and a billionaire playing roles, but as two people who had seen past surfaces to the truth of who they really were. "So," Ethan said, his voice warm with possibility, "where do we go from here?" Mia smiled, feeling the last of her reservations fall away. "Forward," she replied simply. "Together." And in that moment, she knew that sometimes the most unexpected journeys led to the most beautiful destinations. If only you were brave enough to take the first step. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.